So we've got no speeches now, just a conversation, so we can keep things to the point. So I guess the obvious question is, how have you addressed this whole sustainability issue in your role at GE? So, I'm thinking, what are the upsides? What are the challenges? It seems to me that there's many challenges. How do you even go about assessing ESG risk? How do you fulfill these responsibilities? How do companies change their internal structures to ensure meaningful compliance with a shifting regulatory landscape? It seems to me that there's many, many challenges for companies, and the whole regulatory legislative landscape seems to be continually changing and moving. So how have you found things?
Well, Joan, thank you for the question. Thank you for including the private sector. Thank you for including GE to be part of the discussion. I thought it was very symbolic to follow Secretary Pyatt, who I respect so much, because I think you're getting the public and the private sector perspectives back to back, and you're going to see a lot of alignment between those two things. So real briefly about GE and why we're even here. We help produce 1/3 of the world's energy. About 3 out of every 4 planes use GE's engines, but I think we're here to probably talk more about the energy side in 170 countries. And we have this very diversified portfolio. When Secretary Pyatt talks about innovating, we are the innovators. So we're innovating for whether it's gas power, small modular nuclear reactors, renewable energy, hydrogen, carbon capture. We're one of the leading companies in the world, the leading company in the US when it comes to innovation. So sustainability is now core. We're in this transformative era where for the first time after decades of speaking about things, we're actually moving on things, we're actually acting on things. And the Eastern Mediterranean is just so key to all of these actions and everything that we're seeing. And so when you ask, how are we addressing sustainability? What are we doing to make sure we succeed? I think there's 2 primary ways I think about sustainability and how to succeed in the private sector. One is, and this part's a little provocative with some people, we have to succeed first and foremost as a business. We have to be successful as a company. We can have the world's best sustainability goals, but if we don't succeed first and foremost as a business, that's all for nothing. And so I'm very fortunate that GE, our board, our CEO has entrusted me to be part of their leadership team to help make sure that we're having these conversations first, how to succeed as a business. An example of that is small modular nuclear reactors. A few years ago, that was a pretty tough business case to make. The world was turning away from nuclear energy, and people weren't so sure about SMRs. I was part of a team that was able to bring inputs and looking at the IEA and all these trajectories and commitments to nuclear and saying, this could be a really good business decision. And because of that sustainability perspective, we doubled down on SMRs. It's turned out to be a great business decision. We now have the leading technology. It's probably our highest momentum product right now. And so that's an example where we're using sustainability to succeed as a business. The other part of that is we have to succeed for sustainability. If we're going to succeed as a business, we have to align our business success to sustainability success. And what that means in this conversation is how do we enable both a decarbonization approach where we're helping countries and companies and our customers realize their decarbonization goals to address the urgency of climate change, but also electrifying. I heard this a lot today, the need to improve access to affordable, reliable, sustainable electricity. Both of these goals are just as important, decarbonization, electrification. I think whichever one you prefer, they get you to the same place. And that's where our role of making sure we're innovating this diverse portfolio of technologies aligned to sustainability to help different countries in different parts of the world realize those goals is key. Because what we don't want to do is tell any one country, any one region how to decarbonize, how to electrify. We want to make sure we're just enabling the technology and the supply chain that allows them to succeed with those goals.
Okay, great. Can I ask you, in your experience, how much buy-in is there from shareholders, from company workforces, and obviously from customers as well?
Well, I think you hit the 3 key stakeholders here. If we break each of those down, this is, sometimes I think people think of sustainability as an optional thing or a nice-to-do thing. That's no longer the case. I mean, Thomas Edison, I think, created a sustainability company 130 years ago. He wasn't dealing with these pressures when he created GE. But today, our customers, our investors, our employees, this is top of mind for them. And if we break each of those 3 down, our investors. Our investors are frequently hearing from their investors on how to allocate their resources, their investments towards sustainability solutions. So they're holding us to a very strict and high standard in terms of our own performance as a company to make sure that they can direct their investors' ESG dollars or sustainability or green investments towards companies like GE that are not only looking to make the world better and lift up the quality of life of people, but just being a good company, which is critical the way we're run with commitments to human rights and diversity inclusion and strong workforces and things like that. So that's one of our key stakeholders, are our investors, and they're holding us to that higher standard. I would point out, by the way, even though we're headquartered in the US, much of the energy sector is benchmarked against the European Union. And everything I'm going to talk about, our investors, our customers, our employees, when you have an EU benchmark, you're even holding yourself to a higher set of expectations than we are in the United States right now. So we have to factor that in as well for the energy sector. The second are our customers, and increasingly our customers are making decisions not only based on cost, not only based on the best technology, but ESG performance. And we're seeing in the renewable energy business, in the grid business, starting to see it in some of our other businesses, factors being applied, like a 20% weighting to your ESG performance, your ESG ratings, giving you a competitive advantage or disadvantage versus some of your competitors based on how you're performing. Again, a lot of this is coming out of the EU, but now we're starting to see it spread to other places. And the employee part, it's almost self-explanatory. Employees, particularly the up-and-coming, the newer generation, they are driven by purpose. They are driven by a sense of pride in what they do, waking up in the morning and feeling like they're going in to advance a sense of purpose and lifting up the quality of life for people in the world. So to have this nexus to sustainability and this sense of purpose is a huge source of recruitment and retention for employees. And they're probably our toughest stakeholders. They don't cut us any slack on any of this.
Yeah, a final question, kind of entering into the political realm a bit more. I mean, it does seem to me, looking from London and following some of the debates that have been going on, is that attitudes towards ESG seem to be increasingly at the center of the kind of political divide in the US. Certainly anti-ESG sentiment seems to be on the rise. We've seen pushback in some Republican states. What do you make of this? You know, do you think that's something that will last? Will it have a deep or lasting effect? Could it even, you know, affect the outcome of the 2024 election or not?
Well, you point out there certainly is a diversity of views on this, and I think the diversity of views is getting louder. And we take all of these views seriously, and for a long time before we even heard the outspoken views of Republicans or other stakeholders, we always wanted to make sure we were attentive to those considerations, those concerns, and speaking to that. And I think one of the concerns that's being raised, one of the perceptions out there is, to my earlier point, are companies prioritizing sustainability over running a business. And as I said earlier, at GE, we believe both of those are mutually achievable goals. We have to succeed first as a company, and then we can succeed for sustainability. And we're looking to align both of these in the same way. So I think that's part of the way we speak to these issues, is nothing takes away from the business imperative. It's actually when you have a strong business imperative, it makes your sustainability success go even better. And I think that's a really important point to communicate. The other way in addressing these diversity of views is sometimes we can talk about climate change, we can talk about net zero, we can talk about decarbonization. Sometimes we talk about energy security, electrification, jobs, competitiveness, supply chain. Again, both of these themes get you to the same place. They get you to that space of innovation and technology to address these goals, but different audiences want to look at this in different lenses. And increasingly what we're seeing, and I think Secretary Pyatt alluded to this, is electrification, energy security. Those are the near-term drivers of innovation and technology. It's not climate, I would say. Climate is critical. It's a 2030 goal, 2035, 2050. But with the conflict by Russia and Ukraine, the world has waken up to the need for energy security. So the investments are being made. You speak in that lens, and you make the same investments that ultimately lead to good climate change goals. So that's been our approach to addressing those concerns.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I've certainly learned quite a lot from your answers and this conversation. So it's been really good to get that, as you say, the private sector perspective as well. And that's it for the morning sessions, and we're now going to have lunch. So thank you. Thank you very much indeed.